Good. Hi, I'm Wendy,
And I'm Andrea.
and today we're going to talk about picking, planning, and packing for retreat.
Yay! This is the fun part. I enjoy this a lot. And this is actually part one.
And it can be intimidating, but don't let it
Yeah,
intimidate you.
yeah. Well, and again, this is part one. This is easy peasy. So if you're a beginner, if you haven't sewed in a long time,
If you just
or
want something mindless.
or you just want something you don't have to focus a lot on because retreat is a social thing for you, like some people. Yeah,
Guilty.
Wendy has picked out a really great selection of really cool patterns that you can take with you if you are looking for something easy peasy.
And I've tried to keep them in kind of a slowly getting a little more complicated, but
Okay,
none of them are very complicated.
okay. What do you got?
So to start with, this is all half square triangles.
Nice.
This is flocked together by Running Dough Quilts for Villa Rosa Designs. It takes
Look,
eight,
this is the whole pattern.
I know, right? It takes 8 back quarters that are light and 8 back quarters that are dark. You're making half square triangles and turning them into flying geese.
Easy
Easy
peasy.
peasy.
Next.
Next, we've got,
We did not plan that, by the way. Go ahead.
scarily enough, it just comes next. Next is Irish 9-patch by Needle in a Haze stack.
I love Irish chain.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. And it's all 9 patches. And just
Super easy.
squares, simple straight line piecing.
Love it. Also, easy peasy.
Exactly. I'm not going to do that again with her.
Nope, nope, never again.
So this one's got a variety in it. It's Modern Holiday Table Runners by Cluck Cluck Sew. There's stitch and flip. There could be half square triangles in here. Straight, it's all straight piecing, nothing spectacularly difficult. No templates to worry about.
No special
No
rulers.
special rulers.
Nice.
And you've got a variety to choose from.
I love the bats.
They're my
I'm
favorite.
not
I'm
a
a
big
Halloween wonk.
Halloween person, but I do love the bats.
I am a Halloween wonk,
Yeah.
so we're all over that.
As a Halloweenie.
Absolutely. And fortunately, I have friends who are also Halloweeny, so we're all good. This one gets a little more interesting. You've got your apothecary bottles. This is by the cloth parcel. Blah, I can say that, honest.
Say that one more time.
The cloth parcel. Is that
Cloth-
better? There we go.
Cloth parcel. Yes.
And it's got, you have to pay a little bit more attention because you've got more than just the same thing over and over again. But very easy, straight piecing, the occasional half square triangle or stitch and flip.
Nice.
Not very big, so you could finish it in a retreat.
And you could do on the back, it shows different colorway, essentially. Different fabric choices where maybe the bottles have interesting things in them. Like I would love to see some bug fabric. I think that would be super.
Just like a canning jar quilt.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
like a
similar.
canning jar
This one's
quilt.
got more of a Halloween-ish feel to it. And speaking of Halloween,
Speaking of Halloween,
this one's a little bit more complicated because you've got a variety of things in it. This is Skinny Halloween, Farmer's Skinny Halloween by Farmer's Daughters Quilts. They've got a few that are similar to this. This one happens to be my favorite because it's Halloween. But you've got a variety of stitch and flip. There might, she's probably got a particular technique for that hat, but it might be something new to learn. Everything else is pretty standard stitch and flip, half square triangles. But I think that one's gonna be, put it on, trim it up.
at least it's all square, straight line piecing.
Yep.
Nice.
And the last one I've got, a little more complicated. It's a pen and paper pattern called Book Nook. There's half square triangles, stitch and flip corners, but very similar, lots of the same block. So you can do chain piecing but it's got a little different look to it, a little more pieces, still straight line stitching.
And if there's one thing quilters love, it's fabric, and another thing they love, books. I don't know what it is about quilters, but we tend to love books.
We do.
So this pattern made me think, Wendy, about how you plan your time. Because sometimes we aren't sure, should I bring one pattern? Should I try to do 5 or 6? Like what does that look like? Especially if you're traveling to your retreat, you probably want to
Pack light.
pack lighter versus heavier. We travel, but
We travel by car.
we travel by car. Personally, I bring a ton of things because I like to sew based on how I feel, and I never know how I'm gonna feel on the day.
Yep, I'm kind of the same way.
However, if you're a beginner, what you might want to think about is how big is the project and how much can you sew on the project in a day, for
How much can you reasonably expect to get through?
Excuse me, exactly. So if you're sewing something that's, let's say, table runner size, or it's a project like a table runner and placemats, or it's a very small wall hanging, even a lap quilt, but that's very repetitive.
It's like this one's, they call for a 40 by 40 batting, so it's a small baby quilt size.
Yeah, if you're doing something very small, you might want to bring 3 or 4. If you're doing something that's, so we'll call it extra small, you might want to bring a couple of projects. If you're doing something, this one I think is good
It's a little bigger,
sized,
it's twin-ish, maybe.
64 by 70,
Yeah.
finished. Maybe one. You could bring one and maybe an extra small, so that if you do feel like working on something else one day, or you actually finish this early, you have something else you can start on. So just think about the size of the projects that you're choosing, and how long the retreat will be. So our retreat is 4 days. So
And our room is open from 7 AM to 11
till
PM.
11 PM. So
With a
well,
couple hours for meals.
technically locks
Till
at
10.
10, but you can
There are a couple
stay,
of us that stay till 11.
or you can technically stay later. You can pretty much stay as late as you
Oh,
want.
they like to kick us out at
Oh,
11.
do they? I'm never there that late, so.
I am. We've been kicked out before.
Very, very seldom am I there that late. So think about how much time you're going to have to sew, how big your project is. The other thing to consider when you're deciding how much you can actually finish at the retreat or work on at the retreat. And again, if you don't care about finishing and you just want to work on a whole bunch of different stuff, bring as many as you want. There's nobody telling you you can only bring 3 or 4. However, if you are traveling, you'll want to make sure that you're keeping it manageable.
So I keep all of my projects in one bag. Granted, depending on the project, I could fit 12 in there, I could fit 3.
So what I was going to say is, the other thing that will factor into this is how much prep you do before you pack. So for example, I pack like this. This is the quilt behind me. It's Sandy Claus by Art East Quilting.
One of my favorites.
And this is how I pack for retreat. I have the pattern, if I have a pattern. I have all the fabric I need and probably more. I have any special tools I'm gonna need, rulers, interfacing, whatever.
Freezer paper.
Zippers, freezer paper, all in one place, but I don't pre-cut anything. So if it's something I've worked on before or at a prior retreat, it might be in process. But in general, if I'm gonna take something new, this is what it looks like. It looks like something I bought from a store as a kit, basically. Wendy is slightly different. So Wendy, tell us about how you tend to pack.
So I pack like this. In fact, that's been to a retreat or two. as it sits.
And remember, when you're thinking about planning, this is going to take longer because you've got to do all your cutting. Right? So that's how it factors into what we were talking about before. Even if you're doing a small project, if you haven't pre-cut it or anything, you're gonna have to factor that cutting time in. Okay, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, no problem. That's what we're here for. So this one is a finished 53 by 53. This is an in-process quilt. It's Halloween Haberdashery by Melissa Mortensen. And I have the blocks themselves done, and I've clipped them by rows. So I have them, in fact, I'll take one out and show you. So each of my rows is
Got it?
clipped in order. Keep them in order in here
You
too.
better keep them in order.
Jeez. Clipped in order, so the first one is the left-hand one, and the next one is the one that goes next to it, and I could lay them out and then sew them together. But I have, this is all the top row, and then the next row, and then the row next. And as I'm sewing them, I keep Post-its next to my sewing machine and I'll make numbers. So I remember what row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, as I'm going through to put them together. This is something that I'll throw in, if I decide to work on, if I decide, yeah, I don't want to do anything that requires brain power.
Right. So now you're just sewing those rows together and yeah.
Yep.
Oh, make the pack.
Nope, doesn't go
Oh,
in
it
there.
doesn't go in there.
Nope, because I have
Very
these all
cute.
set to go.
Got it.
Another one is.
Where's your cut one? Oh, okay.
Next, yeah, is this one. So this takes the most prep. And this is the Happy Halloween by Elizabeth Hartman. Again, Halloween wonk. This whole bin will not go, the stuff in it probably will, because I have extra background fabrics. Or extra fabrics in general.
That is.
And each one of these bags is a block with all the pieces cut to the directions. I go from these pieces to putting them all together into each of the blocks.
So in this case, you haven't started sewing anything, but you've done all your cutting up front.
Yep, exactly. Actually, I did sew some at the last retreat. I sewed my spiders at the last retreat and my witches. So, and then once they're done, you've got, these were so much fun. You've got your blocks ready to go
So
to be
cute.
put into the bag, because I keep an extra bag to put my finished blocks in.
You got a big folding.
Yeah, I always do. And I have a bag of blocks that tucks easily into, and I, at that point, can decide which one do I want to work on. I have a variety, but it's all part of the same project.
Got it.
The other thing that might be good, turn back around here, is I get the sew samplers from Fat Quarter Shop. If you're looking for something small, you will have to add fabric to what they send you in the sew sampler boxes, but always interesting. You'll have to add maybe a background and
So
possibly.
this has fabric in it.
Yep.
Which you can't see from the front.
Yeah, the sew sampler boxes come with a couple, 3 notions, a pattern. In this particular instance, it's for that. And usually there's enough of the feature fabrics to do the pattern with.
This is Snowdrift from the Fat Quarter Shop.
And if you look at the back, Andrew, read off what it tells you need in addition to these fat quarters.
What else do you need? 2 yards of background and inner border, 7/8 yards of accent and binding, and a yard of outer border. So basically you have all your block fabrics. You just need background borders.
It's a great beginner type thing. They're always pretty simple. If they require a ruler of some sort, chances are they will include that in the fat quarter box.
Nice.
They're a great little thing for somebody starting out to get a few small projects.
Nice.
So Andrea, you showed this one the way that you pack.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's on the wall.
So this was probably one of the most fun patterns that I've watched come together in a very long time. So it was really a lot of fun putting each of the individual blocks together and then watching it show up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you couldn't tell, we live in Maine, because this is at least, we've got lobsters in at least 2 videos so far.
Imagine that.
All right, grab those.
Yep. All right.
Let's talk a little bit about this one. So this
one happens to have been our mom's favorite block.
turn dash.
And
Where's
basically
where's
done
the
with
pattern? Right
there we go. Basically done with scrap. It's Inside Out by Yellow Umbrella Quilts. Very simple, a nice beginner quilt to work on. You do it with scraps.
Scraps.
Let's see,
Scraps
they've
are
got 15 or fat quarters depending upon size.
Yeah.
And then yardage for background.
So another one that would be super easy
Good
to
retreat
take to a
quilt.
retreat and to use up some of your scraps.
Yep.
All right, well, what's our wellness tip today? I've done all the wellness tips so far.
Oh, I'm gonna
just
come up with a wellness
put
tip
you
this
on the
time, huh?
spot for our last little
So
wellness tip.
probably my wellness tip is get up and move around. Get up, look at other people's stuff. It also gives you some social.
I was gonna say, we've talked about getting up and moving around from a physical perspective, but I think the emphasis here is social. Get yourself connected with some other fun people. Be sure that you get inspired, make connections that you can take away from the retreat.
You never know what you're going to see, what's going to inspire you to create, or who you're going to meet that you'll inspire them.
And if nothing else, you can drool over everybody else's awesome fabric.
Exactly.
That's my favorite thing.
Exactly.
All right, well, I think that's it for this time.
Until
Get your
next time.
ultimate retreat checklist in the description. Also, links to all the patterns so that you're ready for your easy peasy quilt retreat experience. And don't miss part 2, which is adventurous patterns.
As always, questions, comments, suggestions, down in the comments.
Bye.
Bye.